Crash Site would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we create, the Yuggera and Turrbal peoples. We also pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. Always was and always will be Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's land. Should we start the old podcast topic then, leaving on that note?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Would you like to take us away, Zed?
Yes, so today we're talking about the Crash Site Manifesto. Many of you have probably maybe been listening to us before. This might be your first time listening to the Crash Creative Podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome. Fundamentally, we are three young creators, artists, human beings trying to figure out how to live a fulfilling and impactful life through the pursuit of creativity, art, creation. I think for all of us, the values that we have in life are around curiosity and creating things, and also around building community. And I think this year, as a group, we've really, we spent last year producing a bunch of projects. We sort of aligned ourselves as a bit of a production company, creating things. And this year, we're really trying to take what we're building with the Crash Site to the next level. We are shifting our vision, we are redefining ourselves, and we're trying to build something for the long term. And so I think today we really want to talk a little bit about what that is, and why we think having a vision is important, and what that vision is for us. And also at the end, how you can get involved and how you can be a part of this. With that note though, I want to actually start off with a question. And we were actually, while we were getting our coffees ready for today's session, we asked this question and it kind of stumped, I think, everyone.
A lot to think of.
It was a lot to process. But the question is would you be content pursuing an artistic career in the current system, in the current climate, in the current sort of way in which artists operate or creators operate? And so the question, fundamentally is, as an individual artist, as a creator, as a young person that is envisioning a future for themselves and the impact they want to have on the world, are you content, or could you be content with pursuing the current path and system as it's mapped out in front of you?
Stumped.
I would like to start maybe acknowledging what I thought of when I was first proposed this question. And I think what came to mind was I've always balanced working for money with working for passion. In that, working for money, though now I've actually gotten into a sweet scenario where that job aligns with my values as a person and a community that I am passionate about, while also allowing for my passion in that I can continue to create, continue to be a musician primarily, but explore other realms of creativity around that complement and also juxtapose to that. I've, as a musician, always dreamt of having an impact through recording and writing music and releasing that to a wider audience because of the experiences that I have with listening to music and going to gigs. Would love to play at festivals in front of big crowds just so I know what it feels like. That is associated with a career in music. Though, would I want a career in music? No. There's a finer detail to that in that I don't think it's sustainable at that scale in the current model that we have. Though I would love to experience all of those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. I think maybe it's this idea of also like you want to find fulfillment and joy in the work that you do, and you want to have the periphery of, and sort of the multitude of experiences of what it means to be a musician and to create music and to give that gift that you have been given as a young person growing up.
Yeah.
But you believe in a more sustainable, so that there needs to be a more sustainable pathway.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think, especially at sort of a grassroots level, it's quite hard to be a musician as well, or an artist. You were saying this thing about starving artists and how shit that is, you know.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate self-fulfilling prophecy, the starving artist sort of idea, you know. And I think especially in like the modern era, it's become a little bit of a, you know, like something we attach to. You know, it's like you're either a starving artist or you're a sellout.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really unfortunate dichotomy that we've created, because fundamentally we should all be lifting each other up. Fundamentally, deep down, art is what drives all of us. You know, creativity, different ways of seeing the world. And that is where, you know, to tie back into like this, what we're talking about just before, individual power comes from. Tarek, what about for you? I know that because you sort of had quite a diverse range of experiences, both career-wise, but then also independently as a creative. How do you sort of look to your future in the current system?
I think for me, the main issue with the current system is access. I think it's access to other people with abilities to help you get where you need to get. I think it's access from an audience point of view to new and emerging artists. I think it's really easy for people to be running over the same kind of pushed and mainstream group of people to interact with. I feel like the playing field isn't quite level. I think sometimes if you end up going to a school or you get in with the right company or the right group of people, then you can get access to a lot of equipment to help you, whether that's interpersonal skills or like physical actual equipment. But there isn't like an easy way for a new artist to be like, hey, I'm just coming into the scene, I just want to get to know other people in the community and just have like this really wide ranging access to all these other local artists. And for me, that's been the biggest issue, is having to just slowly chip away and like collect all of those things and all of those people that I need from different areas to help with my success, or to also just like slowly be like, hey, I'm here, like I do these things to like a wider audience as well. So I think that's what's probably exciting about the community building side of Web3 and stuff, as we're going to go into it more later through the manifesto, is it is genuinely about creating a level playing field when it comes to these communities and encouraging people to interact with each other and support each other. I think the system that we have now very much suggests that you need to cut other people down to get up. And it doesn't end up helping anyone, because you just stall. Like, you don't want to cut anyone down, and then you just end up, a lot of it, and especially in this day and age, a lot of it just ends up becoming internalized. And there's a lot of artists who don't think that they're good enough because they think they have to beat other people, which isn't the case. Yeah.
Or they have to, you know, off of that, I think so many great points in there, but also like, or they have to be other people. You know, oh, this is what success looks like. This is what the algorithm rewards. This is the map and the path that other people have taken. And like, whilst you can take lessons from that, it's not necessarily the path for you, because what your value is the unique perspective and the unique creativity that you bring. And I think fundamentally, like, if I'm then to jump on and answer that question, sort of being inspired by both of your responses, is like, fundamentally, no, I am not content with the current way that the infrastructure is built around building a career in the artistic and creative industries. Fundamentally, there is too much reliance on government funding. There's too much reliance on these larger corporations that define the aesthetics and the value of particular artistic mediums, particular theatre companies in in localized regions define the standard of what theatre is there, just in the same way as the artistic institutions do that. And like, whilst they do add a lot of value and it's like great to bring those things together, I really, really believe there has to be other ways, because otherwise what you do is you pigeonhole creative mediums, you pigeonhole pathways.
It's like a mold, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then everyone else feels like, well, I need to fit that mold. And unfortunately, as someone who also works as a producer, I see this all too often of the same kind of things being pitched and proposed, because they're the kind of things that get funding because they tick boxes, right? And I think there is a big issue when it is government funding that defines what art gets created, because it's that funding that allows people to do that. And this is why there has to be a new system. There has to be a new way for creatives to come together, not feel like they're competing with one another, but they are building together, that they are learning from one another. They are teaching each other their skills and assets, and they are rewarded for adding value to that community.
And I also feel like it would be beneficial to our audiences as well, because so much of my time, like I have heaps of friends who don't really like run in the creative circle or whatever, and then they'll dip in and come see something for me, but they're mostly like, I don't really do that. But it's because they're seeing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
And they're not like when we go to something left of field and whacked out and just like, what was that? They're like, oh, you can see their interest peak a little bit. And I can understand, because as an audience viewer or an audience participant in an artwork or a performance or whatever, you have spent your time, which is your most valuable asset, and then also money and, you know, effort, and you've gone out and you've put faith into experiencing something, and then to always end up experiencing the same thing or walk away thinking, oh, I did experience something very similar, but that one might have been better, so I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, it must be a little bit heartbreaking as well from that point of view, which I understand, but I also don't believe that art should be made for an audience. Yeah.
But also, exactly on that point too, is it narrows the culture.
Yeah.
The culture gets refined. And I just don't think refinement is actually beneficial for the overall culture. The culture needs to be broad. It needs to be putting ideas and ideologies and philosophies against one another. We need to be talking. We need to be engaging on a very regular basis, daily, you know, to actually be going, hey, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm working on. You know, you might not like what they're working on or anything like that, but you can open a conversation, go, oh, so why are you thinking like that? What do you believe your art is doing? Oh, that's so interesting. I'm actually trying to do something very different, but while you're creating music, I'm actually creating visual art that's using technology. Wait, if we're working on the same thing, what if we actually had a look at what happens if your music is inspired by my visual art and my visual art is inspired by your music? Now you've got relationships. Now you have connectivity. Now you have a community that's actually thriving off of one another, that is challenging, interrogating one another, because that's where creativity comes from. When we're pushed, when we're challenging one another, and when we're growing together, and you are, and you feel like you are part of the culture, that you have cultural influence and significance, and your unique voice is contributing.
Yeah.
You're producing something uniquely new as
Exactly.
well. Yeah, to an audience immediately that has a feedback system embedded in it.
100%. And because the other thing is, when things are controlled by these larger scale institutions, which are government funded, what that does is it means that the only time other voices are heard are when they host these sort of like what I kind of perceive as these kind of like signaling forums. Oh yeah, we're having a youth forum, right? So we'll hear your ideas. Everyone's ideas get brought up, but like, what actually happens?
Yeah, where did the ideas go?
You know? And think about like how valuable those ideas are if those ideas could actually then be documented, shared within a community and built upon, you know? And because there is the digital infrastructure there to build that now. What if those ideas could be shared with the ideas of what's happening in Copenhagen? You know, what's happening in New York City, LA, you know, Tokyo, you know, Shanghai,
everywhere.
You know, these global communities that can actually influence and build off one another, where our cultural identity bridges geographical boundaries. I think that is what the potential of art can be.
Yeah.
And it's a new creative revolution, you know? Like, I don't know how you guys feel, what sort of your exposure necessarily is to art history. But it's something that I've always been so intrigued by, is these sort of like movements in history, and where there's been these significant thinkers, and how theory has always interrelated with practice. And there's a relationship between the two, and these, like, you know, we've spoken about coffee houses and salons and parlors.
Yep. Episode 22, if you want to catch up on that one.
Hey, you know, like how these spaces have been built and shared, and ideas have formed, and then you've got revolution. You have arts collectives building. You have this group of people that are interrogating and ideating together, and that is powerful. But I really just haven't felt like I've seen that, you know, in our current era. I think in a way technology has helped bring us together, but its true impact hasn't been realized because infrastructure hasn't been built, because we've been relying on these centralized organizations to do it. Facebook mediates the Facebook groups, the algorithms, how people find out about you.
Yeah.
YouTube the same. And like, obviously these are great tools, but they are centralized. Whereas like there is a real, you know, opportunity, I think, here with the rise of Web3 and decentralized infrastructure to build social networks and community networks that are for the people that want to be a part of them, and that they can be leveraged.
I literally I write like a thought that I want to keep in the top of my head at the top of my diary planner every day. There's like a little space. And on Tuesday, I wrote, stop working for the system, make the system work for you. Yeah. Because as an emerging creative especially, but also as a young person being introduced to the workforce, you just feel exhausted working for a system. And it feels like it's on the tip of our tongue. This taste of a new reality where the system works for you. But we've got to get there. There's still a shift that needs to happen. Yeah.
Someone was talking to me recently about like this idea of post-COVID, post-social media. And I think it ties in with what we were talking about, how there's these centralized, not only in the realms of theatre and art hubs around cities that are controlled or funded by government primarily, but also the big business that funds the big social media things, right? Is we're all audience members to that too. We're all engaging with it. And I think it's so interesting when something sparks your interest, you know, you get so attached and you get really excited about it because it has potential. And I think that what we're working towards is testament to that, because we're all very excited by this new digital era and platform that we are building to potentially, you know, inspire and excite others also by what it can bring and what everyone can bring to it.
Yeah.
And off of that, maybe this is a good time to sort of have a look at the manifesto. And I
haven't read it.
Well,
Really?
where can I find the manifesto?
Where is it?
Well, the manifesto is going to be shared across our social media very shortly with the release of this episode.
Yeah.
It's also going to be connected to our Discord.
Yeah.
If you haven't.
Well,
joined
I think
already.
it's actually early access on the Discord,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's already up there.
It's already up
You
there.
can look at it.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of things go up early on the Discord if you want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's also, I guess, linking into these ideas we've been talking about daily check-ins.
Yeah.
So we're also providing, Zed's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, on some daily check-ins on what else is going on in this space. But we're opening it up to you, the community, to come into that and also contribute.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on, what you're doing. We have different channels for different topics or points of discussion.
Yeah, and I think part of it is starting off with something like Discord, because it's something that's being used a lot in sort of the development of Web3, is as an infrastructure to be utilized. And so we're really trying to build a community there so that we can learn, figure out how to best serve that community and create alongside that community. And I think with the global, like the sort of global long-term vision of then being able to build our own social network that is for creatives, that is for creators of this community. You know, that is like for the people that want to be there, the creators that want to create there, we can build our own decentralized infrastructure for artists, that is for the artist, by the artist, where the community controls what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that is incredibly powerful, and it's new technology that's allowing us to do that.
And I am kind of intrigued to explore, as we gain more followers and stuff, to also explore this experience of relinquishing control of something that you started, because just as Zed was laying out, like, this is a community driven project. Like, yes, we as Crash started it, but we're not setting strict guidelines and like setting dates for things and stuff. Like, it will be whatever everyone wants it to be.
Yeah, I think fundamentally what we're trying to do with this manifesto is set the precedent to open the door, and that the more people walk through it, the more clear that path forward is going to be.
We're on a ship. We were in the port. We're at the helm.
Yeah.
We took off into the open sea. We let go of the wheel.
Yeah. And as a community, we're all going to hold on to a little bit of that wheel and try and help steer it.
We've got lifeboats and lifeguards, and we're bringing you in from the sea. We're like, come on board. Play around with my ship.
And if we crash and we have to build a new ship, so be it. Or we might find a lovely deserted island to build a new civilization.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Come to my ship.
Welcome to my ship. Speaking of ships, what is the Crash Site? So the Crash Site is a contemporary arts collective based in Brisbane, Australia, innovating in the space between Web3, technology, community praxis, and unrestricted creative expression. So these are kind of like our three pillars we want to do. Is we believe in this evolving technology that's established with Web3. We believe in this idea of community praxis, this idea that the community creates alongside one another, that we develop together, and unrestricted creative expression. We believe that all creativity is valid, that every individual is a creative, and that your creative pursuits are unique to you, that you bring something unique to that. And we want to build a platform that empowers, enhances, and in the long term rewards you for that commitment. Because as you said, it is not easy. It's not an easy journey trying to be creative. And it's actually not a short-term game.
No.
It is a long-term, it is a life commitment, and we believe that you should be rewarded for that. What else do we believe? We believe that art is for everyone. We believe that creative processes, experiences, and products have the power to create real-world change. Nothing happens in this world without creativity. It's thinking outside of the box. It is interrogating ideas. It is having conversations like this. It is building a community so that we can learn, we can grow, and we can evolve together. We believe that the future of the art world is reliant on the synthesis of Web3 technology and in real life practice and presentation. We will build new infrastructure for bridging these spaces and supporting those who wish to innovate across these mediums. We believe in the power of experimentation, failure, and impossible ideas. We believe in building a global community of creative people that educate, inspire, collaborate with, and challenge one another. We believe in building sustainable creative pathways that empower artists and accelerate the impact of creative people within and beyond the Crash community. We work to create innovative, interdisciplinary collaborations that develop financial infrastructure, new production models, and new modes of artistic distribution. We reject any pre-established definition of what art is and what art should be. We reject any notion of our art needing to be anything for anyone else. First and foremost, our artistic practices are for us and our community. It is our personal growth, our growth as a community, and the processes that we go through that matter. Because it is through process that we learn, we develop, and we refine our artistic practice as individuals and as a community.
And we have fun.
Exactly. And it's enjoyable because it should be enjoyable. The focus of creativity and art is that it opens us up. It allows us to learn, to bring new ideas into ourselves and expand them out of ourselves.
And or release, yeah.
And you're exactly right. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. And so we want to make this an enjoyable experience for everyone. We reject all traditional boundaries, whether they be socially or creatively enforced. We want to work in the space between. We believe that there is power in the liminal. what exists between art forms, between social groups, between geographical boundaries and cultural boundaries. Ultimately, we are a collective of creators, individuals who work together to innovate in the space between art, technology, and community. We aspire to have a global impact, connecting creative practice with accessible educational resources and the development of long-term pathways that utilize sustainable creativity to make the world a more inclusive, ideologically diverse, and interesting place. So, I know that was a lot of beliefs, a lot of rejections, a lot of ideas.
Yep.
A base philosophy for us to start this journey, to start to steer this ship together.
Totally.
The ship.
The ship.
That's our first Discord community joke.
The inside
reference
joke.
is it's the ship.
The ship.
Yeah.
So we're on the ship together. For the two of you, what do you feel like are the most important things here for you? As you look forward to what we're trying to build with the crash site, what excites you the most?
I think that the ship should be a rocket ship.
I agree.
That's no. Sorry.
This analogy is going to get
It's
deep.
deep.
Could you imagine? We're just like, all right, we need to rework everything. Everyone's
Yeah, yeah.
going to flight school.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got some work to do.
Yeah, we're taking on SpaceX.
Yeah.
I think the most exciting thing for me is to actually have a community that's both experimenting with the digital and the real world simultaneously. I love the prospect of, and this is something we talk about a lot, is like daily rituals and routines and self-help practices, sharing that with other people on a daily basis and being held accountable by it. I don't know, I just really love this idea of people joining this community and being part of it. Like that, I think that's what excites me, is the people and who we're gonna meet and connect with and learn about and share creation with, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very similarly for me. I think the main thing I'm most excited for is the collaboration. I'm also excited by our shift to kind of identify more as a collective. I think that does bring a different energy to everything, and I think leaning into that more as we go forward will benefit our individual projects and the projects that we complete together. I'm also, I'm really excited to hopefully have that interaction more with other people that join the community and branch out and meet new artists and learn different artistic practices from them. And I'm also just excited, I think, to learn more within this new space, especially this new technological space that we're moving into. I think there's just like so much information coming our way, but I do also feel like we're close to the front of the pack as far as adaptation goes, and I'm excited to understand what this potential revolution could be born out of very well, you know, enough to be able to like start it.
Oh, 100%. And I think so much of what this is about is about kind of scratching an itch that I think all of us have had individually.
Yeah.
You know, and now together as a group that's been working together for over a year now, right? Which is a massive achievement. Like we've, you know, like, go team. But now we want to open that up and we want to build something that is about building a much more diverse community.
Yeah.
A community of people globally that want to create, that want to be better, but also want to help other people be better. You know, one of my biggest frustrations personally has been that there is a lack of synthesized information about living a creative life, about how to get better, the tools and tactics that other people use to live their best life. And I think we as creators need to have infrastructure and a support community so that we can learn from one another, that we can commit and hold each other accountable to our creative pursuits, but also our pursuits to be better people, to be better global citizens, to be people that are lifelong learners, that are curious and interested and want to try things out. I think so much of what this comes down to is a willingness to fail boldly. And I think there is massive opportunity here. And in the pursuit of that opportunity, we're going to fail, but we're going to do it boldly and we're going to do it together.
Yeah.
We are going to create, we're going to try things out. And in the long term, I think what we're trying to build is decentralized creative infrastructure that allows artists around the world to come together, to grow, to learn, and to ultimately build a sustainable infrastructure to create. Which is, I just don't think is something that we've seen before.
No.
Because we are working to build something that exists outside of these sort of like current norms and strategies and sort of pathways that currently exist. We want to provide an opportunity for those that want to experiment, to want to try things out, and to be a part of something that is bigger than themselves, because it can be a lonely path.
Yes.
And I think that's what's exciting.
Can I link back to the question that we sort of opened this podcast with, was something along the lines of do you see a creative career, or, you know, there's all this sort of, I think in embarking on a career, it feels like you're alone on it somewhat, I guess maybe just from the wording or from what I've seen other people in their lives. But what you said just before is, I think, really important, is living a creative life. I think that is a really beautiful phrase to embark this journey on together, is how can we live a creative life, and how can we live a creative life? I don't know, I think it's just, let's live creatively. That's, I think, so special.
100%. I also, it's not necessarily if you just want to build your entire career as an artist. Maybe you've got a passion for something else, but you want to live more creatively, or you want to just be around more creative people, and you want to have deeper conversations.
Or even if you just want to live more curiously.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, it's an open space, a space to learn, you know? And I think that's what is so exciting, is in these early stages of trying to build it. You know, we're looking for those early adopters. We're looking for those people that believe in something else, something that is different for them as creators, somewhere where they can invest their time and energy and get those rewards for giving back, but also for being a creative. Because I think the question that we've been pondering recently is, how can you build a community of creators that are rewarded for their creative work and the value that they add back to that community. And that's what we're trying to explore. Whether that is tokenization, whether it is building, decentralized infrastructure, new financial models, new ways of rewarding and supporting one another, and new ways of distributing our artwork as individuals and as a collective. So that's what we're looking for, is if you believe in that, if you believe that there is something else, if you believe in open conversation, creative dialogues, and you believe in your pursuit of curiosity, not as just from one thing to the next, but for an entire lifetime of what it means to be a creative human being, then this is the place for you. And we want you to be a part of this collective. We want to hear your voice. We want to help you share your voice. We want to be a part of that community alongside you.
Yeah. It ain't a pigeonhole, it's a pterodactyl hole.
Let's sit on that for a while.
I've been sitting on that. I wanted to say it. I thought it would be cool.
It was really cool. We had some audio effect to it to make it really...
Definitely add some audio effect to that.
Yeah. We're not dealing with pigeonholes here.
No. We're dealing with pterodactyls.
They're big.
They're big.
Just thinking of cloacas now.
Yes. We will share more about that in our Discord, as we are embarking on another creative journey simultaneously.
Yeah.
And we'll
Always simultaneously.
Yeah. We'll be keeping posts, updates about that. I think that is a great summary of our manifesto.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very sweet timestamp to sort of bring this podcast to an end as well. Were there any other comments that we'd like to add, or thoughts, feelings?
Come join us. Like, that is the main thing. Like, if you are even slightly interested, then just join the Discord. Seriously.
Yeah.
It is free.
Yeah, it takes hardly any of your time, okay? You've got an email, figure out a password, join it, and then if you like it, stay.
Yeah. And if you join our Discord, the first thing you should say is the ship.
Yeah.
When
When you first get
you don't
there,
have to,
say, oi, oi, captain.
No, I'm not. I don't want to pigeonhole anything. You do whatever you want. Do whatever you want when you come in.
We're also in the process of mapping out our roadmap. So figuring out what the future looks like, and we'd love for, if you are coming on early, it is your opportunity to help steer that ship.
Yeah. It ain't a roadmap. It's a sea map.
A sea map. It is a
map,
treasure
map.
map.
A map.
Yeah, just a normal
Map.
map. A generic normal map.
A nautical map.
A nautical
map.
But we believe that there is treasure somewhere out there.
Yeah.
And right here.
Topographical map.
A map of many multitudes across many dimensions.
Yeah, multi-dimensional map.
So if you want to be part of this multi-dimensional map, come join us. Check out our manifesto when we post it online. We've got a sort of rough roadmap there, but it's constantly evolving. We're constantly trying to brainstorm new ways to have that impact, and we want you to be a part of it.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Dude, we need to get a pterodactyl for the studio.
Bye.
My brain hurts.
My legs hurt.
Can I just get some ambience from the room real quick?
Yeah.
Just rub it up.